Well, one day, each and every single one of us will find ourselves face to face with Jesus, and in that moment, nothing else will matter except this. Did you live your life? Did you love your world? Did you serve the purposes of God in such a way as to render these words from Him, well done? I mean, it's amazing how many things matter in this world today that will not matter in that moment. Like, because in that moment, it won't matter how much money you made or what kind of car you drove or how large your house was. It won't matter how famous you were, how many degrees you have hanging on your wall. All of those things will fade away into the light of eternity, and only one thing will matter. Did you live your life? Did you love your world? Did you serve the purposes of God in such a way as to render these words from Him, well done? Like, it won't matter how good you were or even how many times you attend worship. Those things will just fade away, and only one thing will count. Did you live your life? Did you love your world? Did you serve the purposes of God in such a way as to render these words from Him, well done? This is the meaning of life. This is the end purpose of our existence. It is imperative for us to consistently and continually ask this question: are we living our life in light of this impending day, this coming reality where each and every one of us stands before King Jesus and gives account for our life, and whether we'll hear those words, well done? My goal this morning is simple, in some small way, help every single person here today live in light of that day a little bit more. And I know that life is challenging, our days are distracting. I know there are different affections and tensions and pressures that pull us to and fro throughout the course of a week. But life here on earth really is about preparing ourselves for that day. And if all of us in this room could leave today with a greater sense of awareness, with a greater urgency to live this life in light of that one day, I believe we will both grow in our faith and engage more people to join us on this faith journey. It's our mission today to allow the Holy Spirit to remind us afresh and anew what truly matters, what will truly count in that day. So let's look at a scripture where Jesus speaks about the kind of life that is lived in such a way, loves God in such a way, serves His purposes in such a way that they would render these words from Him, well done. It's in your bulletin there if you want to follow along in the insert. Matthew 25:14, it's the parable of Jesus. He's teaching it to His disciples of that day, and I think He is teaching it to us today as well. It applies to us. He taught the story to prepare all of His followers for that day. And when He teaches this, He's coming to the end of His earthly ministry. His disciples have gone through like a 3-year master's program with Jesus regarding revolution and changing the world. And now you can sense a desperation in Jesus' voice as He's trying to get His disciples ready, because He's about to go to the cross to overcome sin and death and go back to the Father. And so He's talking about life and what's important, and about power and humility and servanthood. And He comes to this section in Matthew 25 where He's trying to crystallize what truly matters in the day, what truly counts, and how it flies in the face of what culture says truly matters and counts. And so Jesus teaches. He says, again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. And then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more, but the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the banker, so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Here, Jesus is trying to clarify, to reveal what truly matters on that one day. He uses a story here of a few servants who are brought before a master and entrusted with an opportunity to do something for the master. Here in the text, he's trying to draw a parallel between those who got it, understood it, grasped it, grabbed it, lived their life and loved their world and served the purposes of God in such a way they heard the words, well done, with those who just missed the point. But let me make some observations about the story and apply them to our lives. I want to answer the question, what were the qualities found within these servants who heard the words, well done, and how can we fertilize that into our lives so that no matter who we are, we can live that life day by day a little bit more in light of this eternity. That we would set up ourselves as men and women who stand before King Jesus one day and hear these words, well done. Who would like to hear those words someday? Well done. Number one, those who see life as an opportunity and they seize it. They see life as an opportunity and they seize it. The master puts his servants together, pulls the servants together into one he gives 5, another 2, and another 1. These 2 servants who hear the words, well done, grab hold of what they've been given and put it immediately to work. They see life as an opportunity that's given to us from God to be used for his glory. And I love what's said in the text, but even more so what isn't said here. I love that the guys with the 5 and the 2 just grabbed hold of what they had and they just ran with it. They were glad and grateful that something had been put into their hands from the master. It wasn't really theirs to begin with, but they weren't going to waste it. They were going to run with it. And I love what wasn't said here regarding the guy with the 5. The fact that he was given more than others didn't breed a spirit of complacency or apathy in him. Like, it's really easy to do that when you've been given so much compared to everybody else. To rest on your laurels and say, yeah, I'm blessed, right? And I can just kind of imagine myself being with the 2 friends, and the master comes and gives me 5. And the other's like, no, I gives 2. Okay? And somebody else 1. I'll just pick on Noah because he deserves it. Right? Like, how many did you get, Noah? 1, 2. Let me say that again. 1, 2. Me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, I'm so tired from counting so high. Wow, I've been given 5 and you've only been given 2. No, the one with the 5 took hold of it, understood that because he was blessed with much, much was required from him. He didn't just rest and let the others catch up with him, content with just that. No, he understood that his 5 was given to him because his master wanted more. And we have to hear this because there are many people, maybe even in this room, who have been blessed with a lot. God has favored you and poured into your life a lot of different gifts and abilities and talents. And for that, we give him glory. But God only poured much into your life because he wants much more from your life. God has trusted you with a lot because he wants to do a lot in you and through you. Like, I love how the one with the 5 didn't allow a spirit of complacency to rise up and cripple him. He seized it, he understood it, he had a grand opportunity, and he put it to work. And I love what's not said about the guy with the 2, because it's so easy when you have a little bit less than others to whine and complain. Right? I mean, aren't we like that? I can imagine being the guy with the 5 now and saying, how come I only got 2? Like, don't you like me? If I had what he had, then I would do a lot more. I mean, I'm not going to mess around because I do have two, and if I goof up, I might be back with the guy with one. It just doesn't seem fair, though. We do this comparison thing. We do that as human beings. I mean, just watch, like, kids at the end of trick-or-treating or an Easter egg hunt. Like, immediately comparing to see how much and what they got. I'm just so glad we grow out of that once we grow up. I mean, don't we whine about the things we don't have as opposed to focusing on the opportunities and the things that Christ has afforded us by his power and put it to work? And the guy with the two didn't whine. He recognized that what was in his hand came from the master himself. And I'm going to put this to work. And he's challenging us as a people to live our lives every single day, recognizing that whatever is in our hands has come from God, and we must be grateful for that. And not allow a spirit of complacency to reside in us that leads us to a place of spiritual paralysis. But we must say, you know what? I've been blessed with much. I refuse to sit and just rest with much. I'm going to put this to work, and for the glory of King Jesus, I will see a return. Amen? Now, not all of us, very few of us, maybe none of us will be prominent in worldly standards. Maybe none of us have the 5. But regardless of how prominent any of us will be, all of us are deeply significant. Not because of what's in your hand, in your life, but because of who has put that in your hands and given you life. That's where identity comes from. Not what we have, but who's given it to us. And all of us have a great opportunity. Number 2, these are the people who hear the words, well done. Those who take this life and really do something with it, even though it's risky. Even though it's risky. Like, that's who hears the words, well done. The one with the 5, the one with the 2, they put their stuff to work. And I'm not a stock market expert or businessman, but I do know enough to know that if you have 5 and you want to double that, that's going to require some risk. And we don't know how long the master was gone, so maybe it was a while, but to still see 100% return, you have to put that on the line. And this is the kind of value that the master here is applauding, a life that doesn't play it safe and choose the path of least resistance. And so we need to, as a people of God, to shake off this proclivity towards seeking the path of least resistance. Those that want to change the world, glorifying his kingdom, populating heaven, pillaging hell, if you want to be a part of that work, we need to shake off this idea that we can just seek the path of least resistance. And it can be scary and terrifying. I may lose it all. But in light of what Christ has done for me, I'm going to make my life count. The guy with the 5 pushed it all in, put his 5 to work, took a risk, and saw his return. The guy with 2 didn't have as much to lose, but he didn't die wondering. He put all of his chips in and he saw his return, and this is what the master is standing, why the master is standing and applauding. He's saying, I don't want you to live a standard, normal life. I want you to live a life that recognizes that the clock is ticking and the time is short, and I want you to live a life as if all is in. Take a risk. And I know it's scary to talk about faith and God with maybe people outside the church. And what if they reject me, they make fun of you? What if they accuse you of being judgmental, even though all you're doing, hopefully, is just blessing them in good deeds and words, sharing your story out of love for them? But I know that's scary. Well, why not take a risk and invite them to tell their story and listen and tell them how Jesus changed your life? I mean, come on, take a risk. It's the least we can do with what Jesus Christ has given us. Don't you think he took a risk for us? He faced rejection by people and ultimately from the Father. When we refuse to share our faith for whatever reason, we're saying that we care more about the opinions of people than we do about that of God. Young people, still in school, why not decide you're not only going to do your best academically and maybe athletically, but that you've been put in your school on purpose by God, and put in your neighborhood on purpose by God, and that is now your mission field. Like, I know it's scary because people might point you out or question you, but come on, take a risk. Man or woman of God, like God is stirring in your heart to step up and serve. Instead of being someone who enjoys everyone else serving, say, you know what? I want to be one of those people who recognize that saved people serve people. I want to volunteer, in our children or youth ministry, or I want to go on a mission trip. Like whatever your gifts and your calling utilize who you are the most. That should be what you look for. They stretch your time and your abilities, but take a risk. You come talk to one of the staff about ways you can serve. Look, it's not my intent this morning to simply preach another sermon. It's to bring a wake-up call for someone in this room who found themselves going through the holy motions. Like you're doing everything right and by the book, your attendance is stellar. But could life be about a little bit more than that? Could life truly be about living it in such a way that we find ourselves in that moment, that day, hearing those words, well done? So I compel you to process through this question. Are you really individually embracing your life as the God-given gift that it is? Every talent, every opportunity, every resource, every chance you get to shine a light in dark places, are you really responding and seizing life in such a way? Are you realizing that God does not want us to play it safe? Do you realize that the people who should live with reckless abandon are the children of God, because we understand the here and the now are merely a facade? Are you going to do something with your life that's marked by deep, profound, breathtaking risk? Or are we just choosing to walk the path of least resistance? Because I don't think I'm overstating the fact here. If you think I am, let me just take you to the servant who had the one. The servant with the one did his math. If I lose this one, it's all gone. I can't afford to lose this, and so I've got to bury it in the ground. My friends may do their own thing and win or lose, but I'll do neither, because I don't take risks, and I'm going to sit back and watch everything. And the master finally comes home, and the servant who had the one, this is the crazy part, he thought he was right the whole time. Like the servant with the one did the math, and with his logic thought, this is exactly what the master wants from me, to just come back and get back what he's given in the first place. And so when the master came back, he's digging it up out of the ground, and he puts it on the table. He's like, look, you entrusted me with the one. Here it is. I saved it. And the master, don't miss the weight of the language, smacks the one away, allocates it to the one who had the 10, and rebukes this servant, saying, you wicked and lazy servant. Wicked because you obviously don't know what it means to be a part of a great kingdom, and lazy because you obviously don't understand what I went through to give you life. You should have at least put it in the bank where you would have gotten, a little bit of interest, but here you are playing it safe. All you have is exactly what I gave you in the beginning. Nothing more, nothing less. Take that away from him and get out of here. And it's not because I don't love you. It's just obviously you don't know what it means to be a part of my great endeavor. And so go to the place where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. I'm not really sure what gnashing means, but it sounds terrifying. Probably like what my teeth sometimes do at night. It wakes me up. But here Jesus is trying to wake us up. Like if you're the servant who is just playing it safe, am I preaching to anyone here today? If you're that servant who is playing it safe, that moment will come too. You will find yourself in that place one day as well. And I hate for you to be the one who missed the point. So with our energy, let's risk. With our time, let's risk. But I've had my heart broken before while I've served in the past. I know a lot of us have. Risk again. Not only does the master applaud those who embrace life and risk, but number 3, they're both faithful and fruitful. This is important. Both of these servants are faithful and fruitful. The Bible says that the master commends these servants. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. But I want you to recognize that this commendation of faithfulness came after a display of fruitfulness. Like the one who had 5 said, I didn't sit around with it, it got really scary, but here's what I have now. His display of fruitfulness rendered those words, well done. The guy with the 2 said, hey, I only have 2, but this really took my breath away, because when I put 2 on the line, that was scary. The guy with 5, he could lose 2 and still come back. Well, I put it all on the line, let's be honest. Most of us in this room, me included, we're more like the 2-talent guy. And we're tempted to think, because I don't have much, God doesn't want to do much with me. But that is so wrong. The guy with the 2 put it to work and came back with another 2, and guess what? He heard the exact same commendation as the guy with the 5. I mean, I have a feeling we'll be surprised at who gets a standing ovation from Jesus in heaven. You know, some people think he'll be the pastor of the megachurch or the author of all those books or the televangelist on TV. Definitely not the televangelist on TV. But we'll be amazed at what happens in the kingdom. Some of the first will be last, and the last first. God sees the little stuff. And so the guy with 2 comes up and displays fruitfulness. You gave me 2, and it doesn't seem like much now, but I've got 4. I don't even have as much as that guy started with, but I put it on the line and I risked it. And the master says, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. Now let me put you in charge of many things. It was a display of fruitfulness. And God is looking at each and every one of us in every season of our lives, and He's asking, where is the fruit? Like, it's good to be faithful. Come every week to worship and obey the commandments and sit in the same seat. Do that. That's great. But faithfulness alone will not give you that commendation. It is faithfulness that is partnered with fruitfulness. And He's asking, where is the fruit? I want to see love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. I want to see it grow in your life. Where is the fruit? I want to see you impact your family and your friends and your coworkers and your neighbors far away from Jesus and brought one step closer because you bless them in words and deeds. He wants us to live lives consistently bearing fruit. He's asking, where is the fruit? Because one day we'll be standing before God, and the only question will be this: did you live your life? Did you love your world? And did you serve the purposes of God in such a way as to render these words from Him? Well done.